I would like to understand more from you the usage of smaller aircrafts and helicopters across these verticals.
They are kind of strategic tools. They are cost effective for national infrastructure building, for disaster management, and for efficient and good governance.
When you say power lines, so there are two aspects. One is laying of power lines,
Yes,
and another is maintenance.
I'm coming to it.
Yeah.
So I'll start with the existing power line, the monitoring, the surveillance of power line. I know of one company, Himalayan Heavy. They got a sky crane.
Although we have limited air ambulances so far in India, but whatever we have, it's majorly housed in the tier 1 cities or maximum tier 2 cities.
I know of one private hospital in Calcutta. He was using Cessna 172H, move his specialist from one hospital to second hospital to the third hospital.
These smaller aircrafts or helicopters, they are using it for cloud seeding as well.
One small company in Karnataka who has a Beechcraft, a B200 for cloud seeding. He has been effectively doing the cloud seeding in Karnataka and also in Maharashtra.
Okay. Welcome to another episode of Legit Talk with Lovejeet. Helicopters and small aircrafts. Are they just a source of commute? The answer would be no. Helicopters are used for infrastructure development and many more activities like aerial surveys, laying of power lines and their maintenance, land record maintenance, cloud seeding, and firefighting. The question is, to what extent helicopters and small aircrafts are used in India for all such purposes? Let's deep dive into these aspects with ex-Colonel Sanjeev Chaudhary. Given that he has worked in the helicopter and small aircraft industry and holds an MTech degree in mechanical engineering, who else will know the technicalities of helicopters and small aircrafts better than him? He has worked with Enstorm helicopters and Eurocopters, which is now Airbus helicopters in the past. Colonel Chaudhary has worked on special missions with companies in non-passenger applications of helicopters. Since 2021, he has been working with JetHQ and specializing in pre-owned aircraft sales across South Asia. He served as a colonel in the Indian Army and voluntarily retired in 2004 to transition into civil aviation sector. Hi, Colonel Sanjeev Chaudhary. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lovejeet. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure coming to your show.
Yeah, and it's a pleasure to have you here, sir. The topic which we are discussing today, I think it's very important for the national interest, in fact. So, like I mentioned, that helicopters and smaller aircrafts can be used for all these purposes. I would like to understand more from you the usage of smaller aircrafts and helicopters across these verticals.
Yes, and this subject is really very close to my heart and I'm passionate about it. I've been seeing helicopter industry and small aircraft industry growing in the country, but effectively only for passenger operations. There's a lot more on the other side of the fence, the non-passenger applications. Small aircrafts, they are kind of strategic tools. They are cost effective for national infrastructure building, for disaster management, and for efficient and good governance. I think this tool is underutilized as of now. But I think people have to work towards it to expand its applicability. I'll dwell upon some of the usages which have taken place and some which have not taken place in our country, which we need to look at. Starting with one of the most important use where I was also involved in one of the projects is the aerial alignment surveys.
Mm-hmm.
There are new highways which are built, new railways which are built, there are new pipelines which are laid, and all this requires an aerial survey. The classical method in the past was people going on ground, doing a theodolite survey and making maps on that, and
which is also a time-consuming process.
Time-consuming, and it actually delays the development of the country. The high-resolution aerial imaging with LiDAR and high-resolution camera can, change this effort or optimize this effort, which took many years to a few days or a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Faster and cost-effective ground-based surveying, especially in hilly or forested area, is faster than the land-based walking in the hilly and forested area, where helicopters actually multiply the effectiveness of the survey.
Yeah, you're right, because considering the density of forests and considering that, climbing the hills and doing everything manually, it's a very cumbersome process and a very time consuming process.
And also, most of the time, the land-based system, the technology is not so great that they can penetrate into the foliage to see the ground level, the contours, and with LiDAR and high resolution camera, they can actually create orthographic projections of the profile of the land, the contour of the land, which is so useful in planning your any of these projects, railway,
Yeah.
road, or power line. The second aspect is cadastral or land mapping. We have seen all along in our lives when we are young, those patwaris used to make map of the land revenue records.
Yeah.
And often there were litigations and questions about that map. It was only a perception of that one man who was making the map. And many times, your house registry would have a map which is
Incorrect.
and incorrect, which is posted there. So cadastral mapping is done basically to digitize your land records. And I think states are moving very fast on digitizing their land records. And it is in line with the Prime Minister's initiative of Digital India and smart cities. You can define the boundaries, you can give out the alignments of your public health infrastructure within the cities. Interestingly, a couple of years back, there was a tender, and I think it was from one of the Bihar, two cities in Bihar. They were wanting to find out how much of roof space is available in two cities where they could plan solar panels.
Okay.
I think it was a tremendous idea.
And
there's so much of rooftop which is lying unutilized, and the government of Bihar actually wanted to use this thing for the solar paneling.
So were the smaller aircraft or helicopters used for such service in Bihar?
So I would say here comes another platform and another aerial platform which is more effective. Your eVTOLs or the drones, whatever you may call them. If it is a limited area, these eVTOLs and drones are very effective. They can make pass over the same place and cover a wider area. Helicopters are for a kind of a linear alignment survey. Small aircrafts is for linear alignment survey, but very long
distance.
2,000 kilometers of pipeline, probably small low speed moving Cessna 172H or the Cessna 206H may be more effective to do that.
So Colonel Chaudhary, like you mentioned that for the land records, digitization and all, so currently are smaller aircrafts or helicopters used for such surveys in India, or they're not used so far?
So some states, I am told, has used it in the past. Some drones have also been used, and the land records are being digitized. But the pace of digitization can be really fast if we use the aerial platforms. And there are some specialized geospatial companies in India who do this kind of a job. But at the moment, not all these companies hold aviation platform. They have to depend on the existing aircraft operator. The only company which I know which holds the aircraft and is a specialist survey company is IIC Technologies in Hyderabad.
Okay.
Right.
So they have their own aircraft assets, they are using only for these purposes.
Yeah, they have their aircraft asset and they are using it.
Okay.
The next one is power line, very important. Power line I think in all aspects, there is no better utilization of helicopters than on power line.
When you say power lines, so there are two aspects. One is laying of power lines, and
Yes,
another is
I'm
maintenance.
coming to it. So
Yeah.
I'll start with the existing power line, the monitoring,
Hmm.
the surveillance of power line.
Hmm.
I mean, there a couple of years back, there was a failure of Northern Grid.
Hmm.
Uh, if you can detect or predict where the faults are going to come, where the insulators are going to be get punctured,
Hmm.
well in advance, you can actually take corrective actions. So surveillance of power line is a very important function, where a helicopter actually goes with the high density cameras, the infrared cameras, and tries to detect hot spots where likely failure is going to take place. They do
Or where the likely failure.
yes,
Okay.
they can predict, the temperature of the insulators and other things, which infrared cameras can predict.
Okay.
And you'll be surprised, in most of the countries abroad, this maintenance is done in situ uh, by aerial platforms of helicopters. There's a cage which is underslung the helicopter, and there's a aerial linesman who actually goes and corrects that, changes the insulators.
Yeah, I believe countries like Australia, because there's a huge land bank from where the power lines are flowing,
Yeah,
and I think they're using helicopters for the maintenance and everything.
absolutely. That's the best way. Right now, in most places, I think all state governments have got a state grid corporation,
Yeah.
and you have the National Power Grid Corporation. I think most of the places they're still using a ground-based linesman who goes and checks with binoculars.
Mm-hmm.
And Power Grid Corporation has been using helicopters. I know a company, Dhillon Aviation, then GSL, and Pavanance also. I think they did the surveillance part. In fact, there's a power line cleaning or project was also done with the Pavanance. Uh, Unfortunately, the system is of tendering and is not found very attractive by the helicopters
Okay. Okay.
players who are there.
Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking. Because I mean, although the number of helicopters in India are limited, but they're not that limited that helicopters cannot be utilized for such purposes.
So one more thing which comes out is these helicopters, especially the single engine small helicopters, most of them have their business models on the pilgrimage tourism, the passenger tourism.
But that's not throughout the year. That's for a limited part of the year.
Unfortunately, both best periods for surveillance as well as for pilgrimage tourism, it coincides.
Ah,
And
okay. So it's more or less
the
at the same point
moment
of time.
monsoons are on, they get off the pilgrimage tourism, and surveillance also is quite tough to be done with helicopters during the monsoon period.
And what about winters? Can't helicopters be utilized during winters for
Yeah,
such?
they do, except there are places in India where there's fog, visibility is poor, they can't be used. But the most effective period, I would say, is summers when it can be effectively done. Or some parts of the country may still be doable in winters, but probably northern and the northeastern part where winters are severe, there's a lot of fog.
Yeah, yeah.
These things are limited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So power line is one thing. This we talk of the surveillance and maintenance. Now the second very important part of power line is the commissioning of power line, construction of power line.
Mm-hmm.
I assume the aerial survey for alignment has been done. Now the second part is how do you commission the power line,
Yeah.
especially in the rugged terrains and mountains.
And yeah, forests.
Yeah, forests. I know of one company, Himalayan Heli, and they work for Sterlite Power, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a sky crane.
Okay.
It came on a wet lease for erecting of pylons in the rugged terrains, where it's normally very difficult for logistics for pylons to fetch and get installed at the place there where it's required to be done. Unfortunately, we don't have a single sky crane with us. The underslung of load of single engines is normally limited to about 750 kgs or so. Pylons weigh a lot more, and they are broken down. Even that broken down component are quite heavy. So commissioning of pylons is one part. Once the pylons are commissioned, there's something called the conductor stringing across the pylon. In countries, especially in the Oceania region and in US, they use a sock line, a lighter wire, which is a lighter but very high tensile strength wire, which is put across the pylons, and this pulls the main conductor from the other side. And they string those conductors. It's amazing thing they do. And you see these things not only advance your PDCs of project, they can do a mid correction also while you are commissioning the pylons and stringing the conductors if there's something which needs to be changed. And effectively, the saving in time can be monetized.
Yeah. So, but the question which pops up in my head is, Colonel Chaudhary, that why these power companies are not thinking in that direction? Because, for instance, if we see oil and gas sector in India, if we see ONGC is chartering or taking on leases helicopters throughout, and they are using their these assets for their oil and gas processes. Given that, as you rightly mentioned, the usage in the power sector, because it's not just laying of power lines, or it's not just surveys before laying of power lines, it's the end-to-end process, because maintenance is a regular process. Of course, we can say that, okay, surveys, initial surveys and laying is just, for a limited period of time. But this is a regular process. Why are not power companies thinking in this direction?
So, I think the answer lies in the fact that there's a change which is required in our systems, the tendering systems that we do, as also a mindset change in the helicopter owning companies. In United States, there are at least 10 dedicated power line operators whose exclusive job is for power line.
The helicopter companies.
The helicopter companies. So we need to have. Often when I have sold aircrafts and helicopters, the first thing especially the first timer into it, they start calculating their ROIs in terms of charter operations during elections or the pilgrimage tourism. No one has actually got down to calculate an ROI to do a power line job. Okay. We need to have dedicated power line companies. And also the employability for these specialized aviation asset has to come from either the public-private partnership company which are laying the power line, operating the power lines, or from the government companies like Power Grid Corporation or the State Grid Corporation. I think there needs to be a kind of a workshop and education and awareness to understand what can be done.
Yeah, you're right. And I think there's also a requirement of, because I don't think those who are doing these, say, surveys or power laying processes manually on ground, same set of people can do this process from helicopters. I think this is a different set of expertise or skill which is required.
Yes.
I'm not sure to what extent India has such kind of manpower.
So I wonder if we have got any aerial linesmen in India.
Yeah.
They need to be trained. They need to be probably sent overseas, work with the existing power line companies, and they have to come back trained. Yeah. We have to, again, in actually collaboration with the power companies and the aviation platform, devise our own SOPs and safety measures, how to do it. And
yeah. So I think
that's a gap, I would say, skill gap.
Once this happens, on a lighter note, there's a lot of work for people like you and us.
Yes.
You for identifying and getting the assets,
Yes.
and we for, defining the regulatory framework and how this can be done.
Yes, Jet HQ would love to sell these assets. They're great assets, and we are actually doing some nation building on that. Now, coming to other things which non-passenger use aircraft can do. One is emergency health service.
Yeah.
And there are companies in Europe who have flying doctors. The most important resource today is a doctor, a specialist. Seeing our huge rugged terrains in Uttarakhand, Himachal, Arunachal, I would say all 7 sister states, J&K, your medical, does it go to the last mile, to the last man in Ladakh, I would say? No, possibly not. There are places where we just have a primary health center, and to get to the nearest hospital with doctors there, it can take hours of walk or hours of travel by road. So this is where I am a strong. I propose strongly that we need to have, each state needs to have specialist flying doctors who visit remote areas, and this is a responsibility of each state to get health to the last man.
Yeah, you are right, because if we see, although we have limited air ambulances so far in India, but whatever we have, it's majorly housed in the tier 1 cities or maximum tier 2 cities.
So air ambulance, Lovejeet, comes only after someone has fallen sick,
yes,
and he has to be evacuated. But much before that, it is those doctors who have to go and take care. 90% of these cases can be treated in situ. Since they don't get that kind of care, medical care, you have to evacuate them. So what does it take? A state like, just for example, Uttarakhand, 5 to 6 medical specialists, 3 to 4 surgeons, maybe 1 or 2 eye specialists. They're just flying all over the state 3 days a week or 4 days a week, and meeting, going to the primary health center and attending to patients.
But I'm sure if to make this happen, support from the state governments is really important.
Yes,
because
they need to panel helicopter companies. Let's get over this tender system of tendering a helicopter, having a contract with them. They can have 4 or 5 helicopter companies, empanel with them, and at a short notice ask for any helicopter company, any helicopter to come and do the mission.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, if this is done by private hospitals, the cost is going to be too high.
No, I think private hospitals will also save. I know of one private hospital in Calcutta. He has got a set of hospital in that region. He's got a hospital in Siliguri, Calcutta, and 1 or 2 more hospitals. He was using Cessna 172H to move his specialist from one hospital to second hospital to the third hospital. Okay. I mean, he had days fixed on that. So today, hiring a good medical specialist, it costs a bomb.
Yeah.
He can't have 4 medical specialists or 4 surgeons
in 4 branches. Hospitals. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, those surgeons even perform surgeries in those hospitals.
So it's better to have a Cessna rather than having 4 doctors.
So absolutely, it's better to have Cessna flying, and people have to start thinking of those lines. The states have to create employability for these assets for a better governance.
So I could think of, say, once these VTOLs and all, they see flying in India, because the only logistical challenge which I can think of, one is of course having the assets, because like if a doctor is flying from Calcutta to Siliguri, for example, then reaching the airport, and then from reaching from airport to the hospital, it's also a time consuming process. Probably, and if we talk about usage of helicopters, helipads are also limited. Now, I'm not sure how this vertiport infrastructure for VTOLs is going to develop in the country. Because if we have vertiports at shorter distances, then I think it will make more sense.
No,
to use.
vertiports could be from hospital to hospital.
Yeah,
Each
that's
hospital
true.
could have a vertiport.
That's true.
I mean, it is otherwise also required for a trauma patient who has to be directly evacuated. He can be directly evacuated to a vertiport inside the hospitals.
And why not? Why not? On each helicopter, on each hospital's roof or in terrace, why not? Place to get the helicopter to land the helicopter there. I don't think that's
The rooftop helipads,
yeah.
yeah, there are some challenges, some regulatory challenges, some permissions which take a long time, and the regulation today which is there that only twin engine helicopters can land on rooftop.
Okay.
Sometimes the single engine helicopters is more cost effective. So that's something that the regulators also may like to think of, that in case of medical emergencies, in case of trauma thing, they should permit single engine helicopters to land on rooftops.
So, sir, we have discussed the usage of helicopters and smaller aircrafts in, power sector, surveys, land record maintenance, and things like that. Which all other areas you think where these smaller aircrafts and helicopters are used or where they can be used?
So I think one very important use that I think is shall be greatly beneficial and which has been done in the past is to explore your mineral wealth.
So how it can be done? How will the helicopter
I'll
be
give you
used for such
example.
purposes?
Global Vectra, a couple of years back, they worked for AMED, I think Atomic Mineral Energy Department.
Okay.
And they mapped almost every inch of the country. This project actually lasted for a couple of years. They did it with a single engine helicopter with sensors underslung. They were possibly looking for uranium, thorium, or some other rare earth, or best known to the Atomic Mineral Energy Department, which was taking the data. But similar applications are there to see your water tables, where are they, especially in areas like Bhuj, Rajasthan, where there's water scarcity, and so many other minerals which can be actually explored. Of course, I understand drones and eVTOLs are also used for such applications, but a larger area can be covered with small planes and helicopters.
And what about firefighting? Say, for instance, we have seen in countries like US or Australia where forest fires are common.
Yeah,
Helicopters are used as a fire extinguisher.
exactly. So I think we could actually club it with the forest, monitoring the forest, encroachments, jungle fires, and firefighting. There are in the West people use helicopters for firefighting. There are slightly larger helicopters which have got a Bambi bucket and controls with the pilot, and the pilot can go down, lower the Bambi bucket into a water body like lake, pick up water, and take it to the place where fire is there and drop it there. I think that is a possible usage of our helicopter, which the National Disaster Management Agency or any disaster management agency would love to have at its would like to have it available as when required. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of helicopters or the Bambi buckets which can be effectively used for fire extinguishing. But I think in future these things could be available as we grow in infrastructure.
I think given the increase in temperatures across country, and especially there are certain regions which have dense forests,
Absolutely,
and which are facing too much of heat at several temperatures. So yeah, it's better to have at least think in this direction and have these assets and this infrastructure ready to be used going forward.
Yes, absolutely. So these are very much required for a nation like ours, where forest fires are very prevalent. And
and sir, what about cloud seeding? Because I think in Middle East, these smaller aircrafts or helicopters, they are using it for cloud seeding as well.
Yeah. So we have one small company in Karnataka run by a gentleman called Mr. Prakash Koliwad, who has a Beechcraft, a B200 for cloud seeding. And he has been effectively doing the cloud seeding in Karnataka and also in Maharashtra.
Okay.
And as a hearsay estimate, there's a claim that it increased the rainfall by 27% in certain places.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are very effective systems which can actually be utilized. Helicopter, unfortunately, is not utilized for cloud seeding as much. It's the smaller plane which can go high at the cloud height and actually bomb the cloud for a effective rainfall. So there is one company and one B200 or two B200, I'm not really sure, in Karnataka which is doing this cloud seeding.
Okay.
And these are tenders given out by the state government for cloud seeding. So far it is Karnataka and Maharashtra. I hope one day Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh would also utilize these services. And there will be more cloud seeding companies coming up.
Yeah, because I think, again, due to the climate change, cloud seeding is also, it's going to be a requirement going forward.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. So, Colonel Chaudhary, what role do you play at Jet HQ? And so is Jet HQ also dealing with the sales and purchases of such aircrafts or helicopters which are helpful in nation building or infrastructure building?
So Jet HQ is basically an aircraft sales company. We do across the board all kind of helicopters, all kind of aircrafts, whether they're turboprops or business jets. We sell everything, whether it's for passenger or special mission. But personally, I am very passionate about the special mission helicopters and aircrafts. And whenever I discuss a sale with a new entry into aviation who wants to buy his first aircraft or helicopter, and he starts calculating his ROI based on passenger operation, I always advise him, make it diverse, look at special missions also. They could really be a game changer for you. So that is my two-bit contribution in motivating people to look at special mission.
So from this conversation, one thing is clear that especially the non-scheduled operators, they should not just focus on passenger commute. Of course, they are working for revenue, and assets used for such purposes also are a revenue stream. The only thing is you have to think in that direction and move in that direction. And I'm sure once the assets are available, power line companies and such users, they will definitely try and use these assets. And of course, the tendering process and all that, I'm sure this will evolve with time, so that it's a win-win situation for both of them.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the operator side, advising them to diversify. Yeah. I would also like to touch upon, the state governments which are going to generate this business, or the government of India which is going to generate this business. I think there is a lack of understanding, lack of awareness, and a resistance to change, to use aviation assets for a better governance and building the national infrastructure. Those people who are accountable, responsible, or the planner of projects, they need to understand. There needs to be an initiative coming from organizations like the Business Aircraft Operators Association, the Rotary Wing Society of India, the Ministry of Civil Aviation, the DGCA, how you can utilize your aviation assets for a better governance, for your national infrastructure building. Yeah. At the end of the day, it helps the common man.
Yeah.
If he gets a road faster.
Yeah.
A common man is very happy if the electricity is coming to him uninterrupted without breakdowns.
That's true. That's true. So thank you, Colonel Chaudhary. I think the message from today's episode is that it's whether the government side or the operator side, we need to start thinking in this direction. We need to start thinking of using these assets in this for the infrastructure development, for the faster development, and for our it's going to help. So thank you, Colonel Chaudhary, and thank you to all of our viewers. Please subscribe to this channel because we are coming up with many more such interesting conversations which will impart knowledge and help you to know more about such assets and such evolving technologies. Thank you very much. Feel free to write us in case of any comments at letstalkwithlovejeet@gmail.com. Thank you.